Top 10 records that are impossible to break in NBA history. Records are meant to be broken. That is a statement we often hear. However, it doesn't always ring true. The NBA has been witness to countless records, and most of them have been broken. For instance, LeBron James is probably going to break the record for most total points, currently held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Stephen Curry has broken almost every record related to three-point field goals. However, in some cases, records are pretty much impossible to break. This is either due to rule changes or how the game is played today, or just the greatness of players. Let's take a look at 10 records that are hard or just impossible to break. Stay tuned. Highest free throw percentage in a season. In basketball, a free throw is an unopposed attempt to score points from behind the free throw line. The NBA's free throw percentage leader is the player with the highest free throw percentage in a given season. José Calderón holds the record for the best free throw percentage in a single season, which he accomplished with the Toronto Raptors in the 2008 to 2009 NBA season with .9085%, missing only 3 free throws that season. That record is just incredible, as he scored 151 out of 154 free throws. Most consecutive games played. Longevity records are hard to break because staying healthy is so difficult in not just the NBA, but any sport. However, AC Green managed to break a record playing over 1,000 games consecutively. That's a crazy record, as he played 1,192 games without skipping any in between. Drafted by the Lakers in 1985, AC Green's second season saw him miss 3 games to injury. Other than that, he played for every game he was eligible for until his retirement in 2001. That's over a decade of not missing a single game, and is probably the hardest NBA record to break. Most blocks per game. The NBA's block title is awarded to the player with the highest blocks per game average in a given season. The record for most blocks per game stands with Mark Eaton with 5.6 in 1985. This record is one that's quite literally impossible for anyone to ever break again, and no rule changes affect this one. It's just mainly because the way the game is played has changed. In the 1980s and 90s, the league was dominated by big men. With the amount of threes and perimeter shots taken now, even if someone came into the league and was the greatest shot blocker of all time, there just wouldn't be enough opportunities anymore for them to average almost 6 block shots a game. In 1985, there were 3 three-pointers in a game being attempted. Today, there are about 30, and not even to mention how much the mid-range shot has just disappeared over the years. That's nearly 30 less shots around the rim these days, and it shows up in the stats too. The highest average for blocks per game in recent memory was 3.7 by Hassan Whitehead in 2016. Nobody's even gotten close to 4 a game in the past 20 years. It also has a lot to do with the fact that Mark Eaton was 7'4". Sadly, we just don't see players tall enough anymore to come into the league and put up those type of numbers. The game is stretched out and sped up so much that big men that size usually just don't fit in. And if they do, it's guys like Bob Marjanovic who can't keep up, so place limited minutes, or Porzingis who mainly just stretches the floor and plays out on the perimeter. Most technical fouls a season. Rasheed Wallace holds the NBA record for most technical fouls a season at 41, which will absolutely never be broken or come close to again. He set this astronomical record in 2001. Well, in 2010, the league changed the rules and said that any 2 technical fouls after your 16th will lead to a 1-game suspension. So when you reach 16, that's 1 game. If you get 18 fouls, that's another game. Then again at 20, and so on. This means that if somebody were to get 42 technical fouls in the NBA in 1 year, they would have gotten suspended 14 games, meaning they would have needed to get 42 technical fouls in only 68 games, which seems highly unlikely. Today, the most a player ends up getting these days is 16 or 17. That's the loudest months in the NBA. like Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. For someone to come along and get almost triple that, it's just not gonna happen. All-time career assist record. Another record that is impossible to break in the NBA today is John Stockton's all-time career assist record with 15,806 assists. Now, we all thought the all-time points record was unbreakable, and now LeBron's on his way to break it next season. This one is different, however, because there's so many variables that add up just to make this one untouchable. Firstly, John's record is 3,000 assists above second all-time Jason Kidd, who's one of the all-time greats. Here's how John did that. First, of course, is his teammate Karl Malone. The two were one of the most dynamic duos in all of NBA history, and because of their pick-and-roll game, they were an unstoppable duo, and John became the all-time assist leader. John was also a great passer, adding up to him having historic assist seasons, averaging over 14 a game twice in his career, which was an NBA record, and over 13 a game on 3 other occasions in his career. To go along with this, John Stockton is also the second all-time leader in NBA history for assists per game, while also being the 5th all-time player in games played. So when you combine those two together, it's when magic happens. Most 50-point games. Up next, we have Wilt Chamberlain's 118 50-point games in NBA history, which is the most and is unlikely to ever be broken. Wilt also holds the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th spots for most points in a season, and in his 50-point per game year, it included 45 50-plus point games. However, what makes that even crazier is the fact that's more 50-point games than any other player has ever had in NBA history. Wilt had 118 in his career, and second best is Michael Jordan with 31. So Wilt had more 50-point games than MJ did in 1 year of his career. Most minutes per game in a season. Now, Wilt Chamberlain has set another record which is likely never going to be broken, because in that very same season he recorded another unbreakable NBA record when he recorded 48.5 minutes per game when there's, of course, only 48 minutes in an NBA game. This means he played in every single minute of every single game and overtime of the 1962 NBA season, except for one game where he missed 8 minutes because he got ejected. Today, it's impossible for any player to break this record, as it's rare for a star player to even play all 48 minutes of one game. Sure, the style back then may have been a little slow-paced and a little more laid back, but let's give credit to Chamberlain because he also holds the top 7 spots for most minutes per game in a season and only had one major knee injury in his entire career. So no matter how good a player is, how durable they are, or how bad they'd want this record, even if they did, no head coach would keep their job long enough to let this one happen. Shortest time played in a game. Let's take things to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and look at the shortest amount of time ever played in an NBA game before fouling out, which is a record held by Bubba Wells, for the time of 2 minutes and 43 seconds. On the night Mavs coach Don Nelson was putting the hack-a-shack on Dennis Rodman, so he checked Wells into the game, and in just under 3 minutes later, he was out. They fouled him every opportunity they got, and this one's not being broken anytime soon either, because he was just the 15th man on the roster and only put in 2 fouls that night. The hack-a-shack really isn't used that much these days anyways, so this record will never be broken. Most free throws in an NBA game. Dwight Howard achieved his own NBA record that he'll hold forever when he attempted a record 39 free throws in an NBA game. Dwight was shooting 49% from the free throw line in 2012 and 57% from the field, so it only made sense to foul him, and they literally did that all night long. He actually did this attempting 39 free throws in a game again 1 year later while he was playing for the Lakers against his old Orlando Magic team, making 21 out of 39 in the first and going 25 for 39 in the second. But the reason this one will never be broken is because away from the ball foul rules were changed. Now teams get a free throw and possession of the ball for any off-ball foul committed in the last 2 minutes of any quarter. Before, the rule was just for the fourth quarter, so now that's 6+ minutes at game time that the other team is allowed to hack a shack a player, and I don't think anyone will ever take that many free throws in that short amount of time. 100 points in a game. Can you guess who scored 100 points in a game? It's Wilt Chamberlain once again. Chamberlain set the single-game scoring record in the NBA by scoring 100 points for the Philadelphia Warriors in a 169-147 win over the New York Knicks on March 2nd, 1962. It is widely considered one of the greatest records in the sport's history. The only time someone came close to breaking that record was Kobe Bryant with 81 points. The only recent player to have come close to Kobe's 81 is James Harden with 61 points. Chamberlain's 100-point record is therefore going to stay forever. Most seasons with one team. Although it's impossible for a player to spend his entire career with one team, it's very unlikely any player in the NBA today will be able to break Dirk Nowitzki's record of 21 seasons with one team. Dirk was a player who refused to retire, playing into his 40s. After 21 seasons and 1,522 regular season games with the Dallas Mavs, he's one of the most loyal players in NBA history. Well, those are impossible NBA records to break. Which record, according to you, could be broken? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.